All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look into the engine room of your Linux system. We're going to find all those invisible workers that keep things humming along. And more importantly, I'll show you how you can become their boss. So let's get to it. Have you ever really stopped to think about what happens when you boot up your computer? I mean, it's not just your desktop background popping up, right? From the second you hit that power button, there's this entire hidden world of activity. This kind of complex dance of processes that brings the whole system to life. You know, the best way to picture it is as an army of invisible workers. Seriously, these are just programs. We call them services, or if you want to sound old school, daemons, and they just work silently in the background. They're handling all the important stuff, like getting you on the network or running a database, and they do it all without ever needing you to click on a single icon. Okay, so let's actually meet a few of these so-called workers. These guys are the absolute backbone of pretty much any server or even just your own Linux laptop, and the jobs they do are completely essential. I bet you've probably seen some of these names before. The SSH service, that's what lets you log into your machine securely from somewhere else. Cron, think of it as a little alarm clock that runs tasks for you automatically. And Nginx or MySQL, well, those are the heavy lifters behind countless websites and their databases. Every single one is a background service, and they're so fundamental that they usually just start up all by themselves. They really define what your system can do. So with all this critical stuff happening in the background, you gotta ask, how do you take charge? You know, how do you tell them when to start, when to stop, or even just check in and see if they're, doing their job? Well, luckily for us, modern Linux gives us one single really powerful command center for exactly that. And here it is. Meet System Control. This thing is your master key. See, before System Control, managing services was, well, it was a mess. It was a jumble of different scripts and commands. But then, modern Linux systems standardized on something called systemd. And System Control is the one command that lets you talk to it. It basically brought order to all that chaos. It's the one tool to rule them all. And what can it do? Oh, it gives you total control. You can fire up a service on demand, shut it down when you're done with it, check on its health when you're trying to figure out a problem, and this is the really important one, you get to decide if it should start up automatically every single time the system boots. All right, enough theory, let's get our hands dirty. We're going to look at the exact commands you'll be using pretty much every single day. This is your essential toolkit for managing services. Let's just walk through it. So you need to get a service running right now. You just use start. Simple. To shut it down, you guessed it, you use stop. Now, let's say you just changed a configuration file for your web server. For it to actually notice those changes, you'll need to restart it. And when something inevitably breaks, the most useful command in your arsenal is status. It gives you a complete health report on any service you ask about. When you run that status command, this is the magic phrase you're looking for. Active, active, running. That is your big green light. That's the system telling you, yep, we're good to go. It confirms that your service is up and doing its job. Now, if you see anything else, like inactive or failed, don't panic. That just tells you exactly where you need to start looking. Okay, so now you know how to manage services right here, right now. But what about making those changes stick around? Let's level up and look at the real pro move, taking control of what happens when your system reboots. Now this right here is probably one of the most critical things to get straight. Using start is a temporary, one-time thing. It's like flipping a light switch. The service is running now, but if you reboot, the switch is off again. Enable, on the other hand, that's like rewiring the house. It's a permanent change. It tells the system, hey, from now on, I want this service to launch every single time we boot up. So how do you do that permanent rewiring? To make sure your SSH server is ready and waiting after every single reboot, you just run system control enable SSH. And if you change your mind later, if you don't need it to start automatically anymore, you just swap that word for disable. It's really that simple. You're in complete control of your system startup. So we've learned all the commands, but why does this actually matter? What's the big deal? Well, mastering this one tool, systemctl, is what really elevates you. It takes you from being a casual Linux user to a true system administrator. So let's do a quick recap. Here are the 6 commands that really form the foundation of all of this. You've got start, stop, and restart for immediate, right-now control. You've got status for playing detective, and then you have enable and disable for making permanent changes that survive a reboot. That's pretty much the whole shebang. And why is this foundation so critical? Because this isn't just some abstract skill you learn for fun. This is how you run servers in the real world. This is how you fix a broken website, how you manage a database, how you make sure your automated jobs actually run. Seriously, this knowledge is the bedrock for anyone who wants a career in Linux, DevOps, or anything in the cloud.
So, you've got the tools now. You understand how to command that invisible army that powers your entire system. You've basically been handed the keys to the engine room. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?